Welcome back to SEC Tip-Off. What a season it was for Nate Oats. Fifth season with the Tide, and they were rolling on the heels of a first Final Four appearance in program history. Alabama once again primed to make a splash over here in men's hoops. 25 wins, and they were cutting down the nets, and people are very excited about this team going forward. The reason why, you look at the production coming back. 54% of those points, three-point line, they were nothing short of fantastic. Just overall, top to bottom, just one of the most complete teams. And of course, between the transfer portal and recruiting, they have it rolling. Fish, when you look at having Mark Sears back, and we'll be talking him a little bit later, what's overall the look for this Tide squad?
It's a reason why he was the outright SEC Player of the Year prediction. You think about the job that he did in the NCAA tournament last year. He had the most points in that tournament run of any other player in the tournament, right behind Zach Edey. So you know what he brings to the table when you talk about the Gnome. But second of all, I think that Coach Nate Oats has now finally positioned his team to where there's an expectation this year. There's never been higher expectations for Alabama basketball than it has been this season, and I think it's rightfully so. When I was over there, they are loaded. From Youngblood, Aiden Holloway was shooting the cover off of the ball. You've got Mark Sears at the point, Phylon, the list goes on and on. They've got defensive protection, and I think Grant Nelson will be the key to their success. I know you like that big.
You know I love that. You know I love that. And this is what you got to add with it. A guy that can do the intangibles. I think that's the biggest thing. Grant Nelson had to go into that role and a lot of times play the 5 when guys got banged up. He can settle in on that 4 position. He can bring a lot of things to the game and help Mark Sears relieve some of that pressure where you don't have to carry that big load. That's why you bring in guys like Holloway and all of these guys. But the other key, Trey Wrightsell, I know you want some of that shit like the guys who played it too. Because when they went to
Speaking about language,
they went through struggles. Wrightsell was a guy, because he was missing, that guy right there fills it up from outside, but he also straps up and play defense too.
That's right. You mentioned Grant Nelson. If you remember last year, Alabama's big men, they got in a lot of foul trouble, had a little bit of injuries, so Grant Nelson had to step in. Not only, obviously, he was versatile offensively, but he had to bang in the post. Got him tired, got him even in a little bit of foul trouble. So with Clifford Omari coming in as a transfer, who is a true, almost like Charles Bediako from a couple of years ago, fellas. He can protect the rim, and he's just catching lobs. Screen, run to the rim, catch some lobs. The most important piece came back at Mark Sears. You mentioned Youngblood, big, strong kid that can help in that backcourt. But with Omari there, you now, like you mentioned, Grant Nelson can roam around and really be the player that we saw a couple years ago. And last year he was fantastic.
Fantastic. They on that run, 52% of that total production. But my question is too, and it's an unbelievable embarrassment of riches. It's the only roster in the country right now that has 6 players that scored over 1,000 points. And then you got new cats that are coming in that can score as well. Slay, how tough is that for Nate Oats to figure out where the ball's going to be and distribute it in the right way?
Well, first of all, I think they just passed a law or something with the NCAA, the ACT, SAT. You ain't got to take that. I don't know why you should have to do that with the scouting report, because I don't know how you figure out 1,000-point scores. Who do you guard? Who do you leave off? Who do you double? It's going to be difficult. I think, man, walking into it, one thing you got to do is be able to make them play up-tempo. But if that's what they like to do, how do you defend that and counter it? Games are made of runs. You got to be able to make a run against Alabama, but then at the same time, you're playing in their hands if you do.
I don't know if it's as much finding enough shots because of the style that Nate Oats plays with. They're going to have plenty of shots. My concern for Alabama is, are they too content with the run that they made last year? Because there's quite a few pieces that were lost on that Alabama team. Riley Griffin being one of the huge ones that's over at Kansas now. And so the question is, for those new guys that are coming in that didn't participate in that run last year, do you know the work that it's going to take? Do you know the expectations that are going to come from Alabama being projected second in the nation in an AP poll? They're going to get everyone's best shot, and Coach Nate Oats will have them prepared.
I got an answer for you, and it's going to go back to what we talked about with Arkansas. You got 2 things going on. Mark Sears.
Arkansas. He loves that.
I'm just saying, because it's a great example. Here's what you got. Here's what you got. The guys coming back, Grant Nelson, Mark Sears, okay? They tasted it. They tasted it, okay? They went to the Final Four. They want to eat it, okay? And then now you've got guys that are coming in, all right, like Aiden Holloway. Omari we talked about. Now you got those guys who say we want to be part of that, and you're very beneficial to have Sears and Nelson back who have been there. They know what it's done. Those guys can follow those guys how to do it. But you got a great combination of you still got that hunger in the guys that tasted it, and the guys that hadn't been there. They want to be part of it.
You know what you can lean on too? This whole coaching staff came back too. Don't forget that it was a new brand, a new foundation.
Last
coaches,
season.
like
the whole
so
new
now
group.
you got a group coming through now. They can also taste it. They want to eat it too. Everybody want to taste it. You want to taste it and eat it too.
I mean,
can touch it and taste it.
but all joking aside, that's a big thing because we saw it with Coach Saban when they would have success in football. Everybody wanted to pick the brains of what was working, and you can argue that Alabama has had it working as good as anybody.
Yes.
Actually, just the whole state of Alabama is where basketball resides at right now, between what Bruce Pearl has done and of Nate Oates as well. A lot of success between those two coaches. We'll talk to them a little bit later on the podium. We'll continue to roll on here on SEC Tip-Off. You see, right behind us, we have Mark Pope joining us right now. And how about Chris Jans and the Bulldogs going to join us in here just a moment. SEC Tip-Off 2024.